Hi, listeners. It's Polly and it's Linda, and we're here today to talk with you about decluttering. It's a hard topic to talk
Ooh.
about, isn't it? I know. And I hope I didn't hear a collective groan out there in listener land. But Polly and I usually talk beforehand, and she said, "Hey, Linda, what do you think about decluttering?" And I said, "I think it's great. I don't like to declutter, or I think about it a lot, but I don't always get to it." So I don't know where our listeners are in that topic, but I think that I actually have that thought go through my mind at least once a week. I really need to clear the clutter. And I notice this about myself is that I tend to do the rooms that are already clean. Because you know what?
In other words, you what you do is you do picking up, and you could and then you chalk that off. All right, I did some decluttering.
I think that's what I do, Polly. I think you really hit the head on or the nail on the head. Yes. So, seniors, we're going to talk about it today. So, why don't you grab your favorite beverage and pull up a chair to the table so that seniors, we can talk about decluttering. And
And
apparently,
maybe some ways to make it easier.
yes, yes. And then maybe to, if you're like me, just picking up the already clean rooms, and who probably has it on their to-do list but never quite gets around to that to doing, then I know that you're going to be in good company today. So you already heard my true confessions. I tend to start with the easy rooms that are already pretty picked up, but there might be a thing or two out of place, and then I feel really good that they're back in order. But that really wasn't, and probably isn't what you really meant, is it, Polly, about decluttering? It's probably
Well,
a bigger pile
it's
or a bigger
yeah.
mess.
I think that decluttering. I think one of the things that why it's such an ominous kind of word is because when we think of decluttering, we keep thinking of, oh, downsizing and that kind of thing. And that I think that's why, especially for older adults, that word comes up, and it's really sort of a scary and sort of a drudgery kind of word.
And decision making. It requires decision making. And sometimes we just don't feel like making decisions about the things that we love or the things that we have in our lives or the things that we're comfortable having. And of course, the more space we have, they say we tend to collect more things. But I tend to talk about decluttering, and I've had friends who tell me that they've been told to declutter. And I think that's almost hurtful when someone says that. I don't know. If someone said to me, Linda, you really need to declutter, I'd probably be a little hurt about that, and to kind of take that maybe the wrong way. And it probably wouldn't push me into action. It'd probably make me withdraw from the action because that's kind of what
Oh,
people
and
do when
especially
they're
if it's
hurt.
your children,
Oh, yes. They
well-meaning that they might be.
well-meaning though they might be, and they don't want your stuff. And I don't know how many times Polly and I go to networking meetings, and there are professional folks that get people started downsizing or decluttering or organizing or sorting through their items. And at the end of their presentations, they always say, "Nobody wants your stuff." And it's like, "Really? Are you sure they don't want my stuff?" And they're like, "Yeah, they don't want your stuff." So I'll share my story a little bit later, but Polly and I were talking about methods that she's heard of. I've had professional organizers tell me kind of some of the things that they do, but one of the ladies you mentioned to me was Marie Kondo. Do you remember that, Polly? We were talking about
Marie
her, and
Kondo.
she is,
She's from Japan,
yes, and
and
she
there's a whole cult that follows her.
Yes, she was the guru of decluttering and organizing. And she has, I mean, if you want to research her, that is wonderful. She's a great place to start. My daughters, my young people, young people like her and have ascribed to her and really found a lot of cool tips to sort of sort through their things. I never really had time to get involved in that. I was too busy living life and accumulating, right?
And it's
But
so funny how easy it is to accumulate too. I have moved on the average my entire life, an average of every 3 years until the last maybe 10 years or so.
okay.
And as many times as and every time I've moved, I have done a major getting rid of books, getting rid of all the extra, and I still have too much stuff.
But you've had to do it every 3 years. And I think that people who move more often really are better at this process. Or what I've heard is they keep moving the same boxes. I have heard that story too, that we've moved 10 times, but we've also moved 10 times
And
and
the boxes, yes.
and the boxes have
I've
moved with
got
us.
one closet that's still.
Okay, true
Did you ever
confessions
hear
here.
did you ever hear a George Carlin's thing about our stuff?
No,
He
I
says
don't
the
know.
only reason that we have houses is because we need a place to put our stuff. And then if we go on vacation, we have to take a smaller version of our stuff. And then if our friend says while we're on vacation, well, let's go over to such and such a place just overnight, then we have to take even a smaller version of our stuff. But it's all about our stuff. And then we have a whole industry now of places that make money storing our stuff that won't fit in our houses.
Yes, yes. And I do know that that is true, that there are storage units that people have. So, you know what? We all struggle. And that's what I love about Seniors Can We Talk is because Polly and I kind of live this walk and have learned from professionals, but have also really tried this in our own lives. So we've got real life that we succeeded or that we failed. So we're going to be honest with you that we have success or failure. I mean, that's just who we are. So I looked up Maria Kondo's 6 steps. So just to share with our listeners so that they have that is number 1, commit to tidying up. So that sounds like a tiny habit, even of itself, that making that commitment statement to yourself. And imagining my ideal lifestyle. My ideal lifestyle is a place for everything and everything in its place. And then eventually, sometimes I probably have too much in one place. So that's where the clutter comes from. But that's my ideal lifestyle. I like to be able to find what I'm looking for because I'm usually on the fly, running through the house saying, where's this pair of shoes? Where's this jewelry? Where's this outfit? Where's my purse? Where's my backpack? Where's my computer? Where's my papers? I've got to have it all kind of there. Oh, and by the way, I need my lunch, my drink, so if I can make short work of that process, I'm usually happier. But she has a whole order of how you need to do this organizing. There's 5 categories, and I do like this category thing. This works for me. Clothes, books, papers, miscellaneous items, and sentimental items, which I love because that's the hardest part for me about the decluttering. If you're like me and have helped multiple people move and have experienced the loss of many older relatives who wanted to give me things, I have a lot of sentimental items. And that's really hard to figure out what to do with, but that's okay. She says it's okay to have that box of sentimental items, but then also to do things in order. So you tackle the easier things first, the clothes, the books, the papers, the miscellaneous stuff. And then you can kind of figure out the sentimental items because you've conquered something before that. And we're going to help you through this. We're going to hear real life stories from Polly and me about what we did. What did you do in your closet? Because you tried this, Polly, this method.
Yes, and I did use the Marie Kondo method, and I was absolutely amazed. First of all, I did something, I took a piece of advice that we're going to give you later on, and I invited my daughter to come over and help me.
Okay.
And somehow just having another person there, because my objective was my closet, and my closet is pretty big, and it holds all the summer clothes and all the winter clothes. And the first thing that Marie Kondo tells you to do is You do not take out one piece at a time. No, you empty every single thing out of that closet or out of the drawer. And then what you do is you hold each object up. And it's amazing how fast you start being able to do this. You hold it. Does this make my heart sing? That's all she tells you to do. Does this make my heart sing? It doesn't matter if you got it on sale. It doesn't matter if somebody else gave it to you. It doesn't matter if it's your favorite color, but it's the wrong size. Does it make your heart sing? And will you really use it? And the decision-making process was so much easier. And I also invested in matching clothes hangers.
There you go.
And when I finished that closet and I stood back, I felt like Martha Stewart. It looked like it came out of a magazine. I was very happy with myself. So that is, but the core of her process is that you empty whatever the thing is that you're going to clean out. You empty the whole thing, and then you only put back what makes your heart sing. And when you really ask yourself that, really from your heart, it is amazing how much easier those decisions are,
Yeah. Well, I asked
even
myself,
if it was on sale.
well, I decided after we talked the other day, I decided I would, I went to my closet and I put on a top. Not this one, it was a different top. So I put it on and I'm like, yeah, this is okay. And then I thought, does it make my heart sing? And I thought, nah, it doesn't really make my heart sing, doesn't really bring me joy, but it looks good. And I kind of like it, and it's a means to an end. So I put it back in my closet. So I'm just sharing that maybe I rationalized too much, and maybe the next time around I'm going to get rid of it. But I actually, even though it's not
But
like
just
my
asking, but
favorite.
isn't it interesting? Just asking that question made you decide, it doesn't really make I'm not going to wear it. So you still really accomplished exactly what she's talking about.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's not my favoriteest top, but I do like it. And
Yeah.
when you need something to put on and you got to go to work or whatever you're doing, it matches and it kind of is in my color group.
Yep.
So that worked for me. So I just put it back in my closet. But I really looked at that top a couple of different times and I actually left it sitting on my dresser while I continued to make that decision. And then I ended up putting it back in my closet. But that doesn't mean that the next time I see that top that I might not make that decision. So, does this bring you joy? Does this make your heart sing? And not attaching an emotion to it or a dollar amount to it really helps because then it will help you finish the next category, which is actually getting rid of that item. So, Polly has this wonderful daughter who lives in New York. And I've always been fascinated with people who live in New York in small spaces. What is that like, Polly? And how did she rub off on you?
She she lives in a one of those wonderful brownstone type in that, in it's actually right next to the near the Brooklyn Bridge. So it's a very charming area. But the rooms are small, and she lives with three boys. Well, one has graduated now and has gone to college, but she has a pair of twins who are now seniors in high school, and then she has her oldest son who's now going off to college. You've got these boys, and it is amazing when you go to her house and you open a kitchen drawer, or you open a bedside table drawer, or the medicine cabinet in one of the bathrooms. Everything is in order. The only things that are in there are things that are actually used. There is a total, I swear to God, absence of clutter. And of course, what probably also helps is that she's a little bit on the, how would I say, a little bit on the,
Obsessive compulsive disorder list?
yes, a little bit. And she's a
And we
lawyer.
say that in love because
Yeah.
you know what? We're all different. And, when you've got a lot to manage, having things in order is really a
You just
blessing.
have to. She
Yes.
has done it out of survival, I'm
Yes.
sure. A lot of it
Yes.
is out of survival.
Yes.
And every time I go, I am so inspired because I'm a very creative person.
Hmm.
And especially when I'm in a creative mode, I tend to use things. Oh, especially if I'm using my art studio in the back here. I use when I'm on a creative jag, I'm using things and then I have the next step and I'm going so fast, there's no time to put things away. And I tend to lead my life that way. I use something and put it down wherever I am instead of putting it back where it belongs. In fact, my very first tiny habit that I ever learned, other than the exercise one, was after I brush the kitty, I will put her hairbrush on the dining room side table because every my cat is a long-haired cat. Her name is Princess Leia. She
Okay.
insists if I do not brush her, she will be sitting between me and my computer with her tail end facing me every morning. So, but every morning there used to be this frantic, where did I put, like you're saying, the car keys? Where did I put it? Where? And the same thing would happen with my car keys. And the one thing that tiny habits really helped me with was simply after I do such and such a thing, like when I walk in from outdoors with my car keys in my hand. Now I always put them in the same place. The same thing with the cat's hairbrush. Just doing those little things, that's a starter for getting decluttered.
Hmm.
Anyway, as far as going back to my daughter, Katie, I'm always inspired. And for some reason, I'm not quite sure what brought it on, but sometimes the universe works in strange ways, and suddenly something that's been on our mind moves from the back burner up to the front burner. And every morning I would look into my cosmetic drawer.
She's covering up her
As an
face, folks.
example, as an example, I'm definitely a mascara and the whole works girl. I do not face the by 9 o'clock. I'm in full regalia every
There you
morning.
go.
And I would look in my drawer, and for instance, there's not one, not two, not three, four different tubes of concealer because I have the one I'm really using. And then I have three others that are pretty much used up, but they're there just in case I run out of the one I'm really using. And before I get a time to go to Walgreens, I could use one of those.
Yes, it's a backup
And
plan. It's your backup
right,
plan.
it's my backup plan. And it's sort of scarcity thinking. It's like, what? You don't think you're going to have time or the money to go and get another concealer when you're going grocery shopping? For heaven's sakes, girl.
Yes.
And then there's old lipsticks that I used to use, but now I'm not using anymore, and
Oh yeah, those
on
gotta
and
go.
on and on it goes. And samples of things
Oh
just
yeah,
in
gotta go.
case.
Hmm. Yeah.
So I was moved to do the Marie Kondo thing. I literally, in the middle of the morning, in the middle of getting ready for everything for the day, I took that, I couldn't stand it anymore. I took that drawer, I dumped it out on my bed. And the only things that I would put back in there are things that I actually use. No backup things, no samples, no things that I haven't used in 6 months. And that drawer, and I cleaned out the drawer too with with a sponge. I stood back and I looked at that drawer and it just brought me such peace
Hmm.
and such satisfaction and such joy that many times since I did that little chore, I have got stopped in my bathroom, pulled out that drawer and just looked at it and admired how beautiful that drawer is.
You did
And
what
the
you said
interest,
you were gonna do. And
yes,
it gave you some great emotions. It gave you a
right,
sense of
right.
accomplishment. It got rid of all the stuff that is just stuff.
The big thing, this is the interesting lesson though that I took away from it. And it's something that I know as a tiny habits coach. We talk about this all the time. People do better when they feel good about themselves.
Yes.
I felt so proud of myself, and that drawer looks so delicious in a in a
In a
practical way.
positive sort of way,
Yes,
yes.
it just looks so inviting that I found myself the next day. I thought, oh, I've been meaning to take all this stuff. I had a trunk full of old electronics that had been riding around in my car for months that I was going to take to Best Buy. By
Yes.
golly, that next day, I ended up taking the stuff to Best Buy, and again, I looked at my trunk of my car. Oh my God,
This is great.
this is
Look
a
at the trunk of
lesson
my car. You didn't have
and
to,
a
every time
lesson
you opened the trunk of the car, you had this overwhelming sense of failure that it hadn't
before.
gotten accomplished. And then you're mad because in St. Louis it's 150 degrees, or it feels like that, and you're sweating, and now you're pushing stuff out of the way, and that stuff is big and bulky. So I get those emotions.
Yes. So this the what the point of all this from a tiny habits point of view is if you start small and really admire and really congratulate yourself about what you did, the brain loves that kind of stuff. And that's what sets up new patterns in the brain. So if you want to set up a new pattern in your brain about moving clutter and making decluttering more of a priority, instead of starting out looking at it as a mountain and something you have to do and something that's drudgery, if you break it down into small steps and start out by using positive emotions instead, you just might be inspired to do another little piece and another little piece. And each time, step back and admire what you've done, congratulate yourself. Yay, I did it.
Yeah. And isn't that a part of life that we do? And
Mhm.
at every age. And I think when when Polly threw this topic out to me, and I sat at my laptop, with fingers poised, and I thought, you know what? This really gives me a sense of control. It
Mhm.
gives me a little bit of control back in a world that I cannot control. And especially as we see things really change as we age, so much
Mhm.
that we can't control. So the topic is really bigger than decluttering. It We're going to give you a method to do this and to think this through, but like you said, good habits drive other good behaviors.
Right.
It allows
It's
you.
like putting your keys in the same place.
Oh, there they are.
A tiny habit would be when I walk in the door, I'll put my keys in the basket. Or when I finish using my purse, I'll put it on this table. All those little tiny habits help keep the cluttering from even growing.
Yes, and feeling like we're out of control. So, I always like to say I'm the research nerd, but the fact is we may not like words like decluttering or minimizing or downsizing, but when you and I live in a cluttered environment, it can negatively affect our mind, and it could produce increased stress. It could produce our inability to concentrate, give us anxiety. Maybe even mood disorders could arise from a very cluttered environment, but also the reduced concentration. So, as you know, Polly and I have businesses, and we're also producing YouTubes, and Polly writes blogs, and I do podcasts. And so, when we're trying to walk in and be creative in a cluttered environment, it really can be distracting to us. So, that is what I'm going to tell you about, is that I realized that I had a big decluttering job to do, and it wasn't just a makeup drawer. My makeup drawer actually looks really good because I do try really hard to keep just stuff out of there, because when I go to put my makeup on, it gives me a great joy to see that I have what I need and I know where it is, rather than trying to figure that out. But I do have an office or a space, like many other people do, where I need to get down to the business of life. So where other rooms might be picked up and there may not be all those little accoutrements, as the French would say, there is stuff. in my space. I'm preparing for a lesson, I'm preparing for podcast, I've got a stack of papers about life, I have creative stuff in another area, and my space had gotten way out of control, and I knew it. I knew it because if I have too many piles, I can always tell. And what I'd done to make it look like I was organized, I put it in piles. You know how that goes? You kind of make piles and then you get more piles. So I had a lot of people coming to my house. So I do not know why on my brain I decided to put this task at the top of my list, but I was going to have house guests. So I thought, well, they might be using this space. So now's a good time to get this under control. But I decided that I need to allocate several moments of time. It wasn't something that I knew I could accomplish in a day because I rarely have a full day to do that. So I set timers some days and I worked ahead of schedule. So when my deadline came and my guests were coming, they'd think I was amazing because my office looked like it had been cleaned out.
Oh, did you set a timer for like 25 minutes? That's usually what I do. I'll
Yeah,
say you have to do it
sometimes
for
even less
25
than that.
minutes.
Sometimes even less than that. Sometimes it's 10 minutes or 15 minutes because that's really all I have. But yeah, I set a timer and then I didn't tackle the whole space at once. I
Yeah.
did the Marie Kondo method of saying, okay, I'm going to look at my books and my studies that I have. Which ones go, which ones stay, and then divided them up into different shelves. So they were in different categories. So when I was looking for a workbook, I had that book there. When I was looking for a family memento, it was on a different shelf. And so that was helpful. I also was looking at the closet. So I got everything out and then tried to put everything back in that belonged in there and put things together that were like in kind, right? But then also, if it just made no sense, it was out in the hallway so that it wasn't coming back in. So I did the closet. I had two desks. So I did two desks, two different desks. And then I decided that I had to work on my piles of paper. So then I sorted those. So it was a process and I did get through it. And I
One step at a time.
yeah, one step at a time. I didn't try to do it all at once. I knew that there was too much in here. And there were even sentimental things because,
Yeah.
I have things that I've collected, and then I have things that somebody gave me that are sentimental. And you know what I found, Polly, when I was going through this whole mess? And I love that Marie Kondo thing where you put your sentimental items in a separate spot. I actually found a whole little bag of silver and gold little items that I had been collecting for probably 5+ years. And don't you know, in the mail, I got
Were these like leftover
yeah, it
jewelry
was
or
leftover jewelry. It was the top
things that
to
didn't
some
match?
jar that was silver. It was a charm bracelet. It was one gold hoop earring. It was, I don't know, it was all kinds of little chitchy chatchy stuff. I didn't even know what I was going to do with it. But in the mail, I got a flyer from a jewelry store that was buying gold and silver. So I took my little bag of whatnots and I marched off to the jewelry store and sold it. So I actually got a financial benefit from my decluttering process. So I wanted to
Ooh.
share that with you because guess what? I was in another room and I decided to open a drawer to see what was in there and I found more gold stuff. So then I was
Oh, I want to come to
empowered.
your house.
I know. I don't
I'll
think
help
I
you
have any
declutter.
more. I don't have any
Finders
more.
keepers.
I think I have any more, so that's not going to work for me.
Okay.
But I know what to do with it when I do find it. But it was the result of, oh my gosh, do you know what that made me feel like to finally get that off my brain and out of my mind and then to
Oh,
have that financial benefit was huge. So I really felt good. And I agree with what you're saying. It encouraged me to do other things and get other things in order and keep that
yes. And
as
even,
process.
with Marie Kondo, her whole philosophy is about your house is sacred, your space is sacred. And
Okay.
do you really want to glom it up with all, to really honor your space? And I think that the emotions have, that's why the sentimental stuff, all, those decisions, because our emotions are involved. But going from to turn it from drudgery into feelings of success and peace and joy, it's, I think, one of the things that no matter what way you declutter, one of the mistakes we tend to make is we tend to assume that it's going to be drudgery, and it doesn't have to be drudgery. And I think that's probably the biggest message of today. No matter, and there's lots of, we'll go over some of our methods that we've also heard about besides Marie Kondo, but I
Mhm.
think that it doesn't have to be drudgery, and that's the big message.
Yes, it may not be the most pleasant task, but the end, when you do it, that's when you feel like you really
Yes,
accomplished
and if you
something.
come from that place of recreating that feeling of order, of control, that feeling of accomplishment, and then what and use that as your motivation rather than just making it a big I have to.
Yes, I agree. I agree with you on that. In fact, there's an admiral that wrote a whole book, and we mentioned his name before, but about if you just get up and make your bed, that's accomplishment, and that you feel so good about making that decision that you go on to make other decisions during the day. And I think as seniors, when we're told this, do that, and we see losses in our lives, maybe it's our own personal losses of people, maybe it is debility. Hey, I used to be able to do this, now I have to do this, or now I have to take it a little slower, now I have to really think about, is this where I really want to live, or somebody's telling me now I have to do this. How do we maintain a sense of control in those kinds of situations, in those kinds of environments? And I think being a part of life and making those decisions, it really just helps us to feel like, hey, I'm still running the ship here. Like I'm still making decisions and I'm still pushing forward and I'm having it the way I want it to be. And that's what the decluttering can really lead to, is having
Right.
it the way you want, with the values that you have, and then what do you want to do with those things that are sentimental to you. You
Right.
don't have to get rid of them, right, Polly?
Actually, I'm glad you brought that up because one of the things that Marie Kondo says is that of course there's some things that keep the ones that are real treasures. And for me, for instance, there's several things. Um, in my closet, there is a sweater and two sweaters from my sister who passed away some years ago, and my mother's favorite house dress. And I keep those because every time I see them, I think of them. And it's my way of just sort of keeping them in my mind and in my heart. My kitchen, I used to be a pampered chef lady, so
Oh,
I
yes.
you cannot imagine. But I also have, when my mother made her transition, I have so many of her pots and not so much the pots and pans, but the cooking implements.
Hmm.
I must have six spatulas, but I use them all.
Well, there
And
you go.
every time I use them, I think of my mom and she was an incredible baker and she was a minister's wife. So she was always entertaining. She was always making casseroles. She was always baking things to give away to people at Christmas and so on and so forth. So I have all those happy memories with them. And
Yes.
that, as a result of that, one of the things I started doing several years ago, when I go away on a trip, I don't bring back t-shirts or anything. I always bring back something I'll actually use in my kitchen, in my house.
That's
So
cool.
I have like, an Italian espresso, a little espresso mocha machine that I use every morning for breakfast. And I think of my French family when I use it. So keeping those things that really have meaning to you and really using them or really giving them a place of honor, as opposed to having a whole bunch of sentimental items that are stuffed in a closet. That's the kind of transition that we're talking about.
Yes, beautiful. And I love that because that gives me joy. Just to hear you tell that story gave me a lot of joy. So I know that you are having fun with your sentimental things that
Yes.
you have.
Yes. Nobody
Um,
says you have to give them all away.
So show me those pom poms that we're supposed to be shaking again when we accomplish a task. We give our brain that beautiful feeling that, oh, we really won the lottery on that project. Wow, I am empowered. It feels good. And there's nothing quite like celebrating. And I'm
And
telling
go back
you,
and admire it. As I say, I did that drawer 2 weeks ago. I still once in a while when I go into the ladies' room, I pull out that drawer and I think, God, that looks great. I'm so
dang,
proud
that
of
looks
myself.
good. I know, isn't it feel good? I love that. So I think we have to use a method that works for us. And you
Yeah,
may have one that works for you or has worked for you. So
yeah.
this is just your encouragement that, get on it. Let's move that thing that's at the bottom of the list or the thing that we have in the back of our mind that keeps, nagging at us that we're not getting done. We can always move that to the top. But I certainly recognize and appreciate that professional organizers are a great resource
Yes.
too, because they have outlets where you can have your treasures, those things that may not be as purposeful for you now. They have outlets where they can then sell them or get a financial gain for you. They can also find appropriate places that you might like to donate some items, but
Right.
they will also help you get started. So it's not that they have to do the whole thing, but they can help you get started and use their own method. And sometimes people use those three boxes of, donate, trash, and, sell.
Mhm.
Sometimes people use boxes like that. And uh, my mother used to say, I'm really not good at this organizing thing. And I think, what was she joking about? She was very organized. But I know that for other people, this could be really true, that it is not in their wheelhouse. It's not something they're good at. And like you said earlier, Polly, you said that you had your daughter come and help
Mhm.
you with your
Yes.
closet, that
Yes.
it might be
Just
your
for moral
friend.
support. Somehow it just it helps to have somebody else. So I'd say, trading off with a buddy, like they come to your house and help you declutter a closet
Hmm.
and bag up everything and haul it out to the car. And
Yes.
then you go to their house and do the same thing for them. Doing
Yes.
that or hiring a professional, if that will work for you, for heaven's sakes, do that too.
Yes, absolutely. But I do know that it really has to come from within, right? If we're going to get into this mode, it really has to start inside, and it starts with those tiny habits, like Polly said. So, have you got any more takeaways for our listeners
Yes, I
today?
do. I do.
Okay, great.
I think from the tiny habits point of view, if you want to get it, uh, if you want to make it into a habit, and this is one of the things that I'm doing. I went to Target and I got a large, just a very plain looking uh, kitchen trash, trash container with
Okay.
a flip open top. And I
Yes.
put a bag in it. And my tiny habit is every day after lunch, I will put one thing in that bag. And I have it out by the back door. I think I like it because it's pretty. How would I say? It looks nice. It's not like another box.
Okay.
So it looks organized and then when it's full, I take it to Goodwill or wherever I'm going to take it to. So the tiny habit would be because you want a real prompt that's your real behavior. Otherwise it will never happen. So after lunch or after I have my coffee or before I fix dinner or when I come home from bridge or whatever it is, but an actual prompt. And then I will move one thing that I no longer need to the special box
The special
and
box.
celebrate. This is your mind loves to celebrate. And if we don't celebrate, then how would I say? It's not likely to happen again. So the celebration part, again, we're talking about your emotions. Use your emotions for a positive action instead of waiting for willpower or self-discipline, which obviously, if we had that much willpower and self-discipline, we would have already done it. So
Yes. Yes.
go the other way around. Look from
And we wouldn't need a
admire
tiny
your work.
habit to remind us
Right.
either. We just did it on our own.
Yes. So remind the whole thing is as much as you can do this from a positive point of view, admiring your work and doing it for the reason of wanting that clear space and enjoying your things and giving the real sentimental, the truly sentimental things a place of honor
Yes, I think that goes
instead of
back to what you were saying,
stuffed
that this
away.
is this is my space. This is my sacred space. What do I want it to look like? What do I want it to have in it?
Mhm.
I was kind of proud of myself. Somebody wanted to give me something and they said, "Do you want this?" And I said, "No, thank you," because it would have cluttered my space. I did not need it. So I felt okay in saying, "No, thank you." I didn't want it because
I'm
I
sure
knew.
that around Christmas time, we're going to have a discussion about regifting.
Yeah, that would be fun too, of course. Espe- But, sometimes people can't make that decision and then they feel bad giving it away. So then they want to give it to somebody else. And if you let that happen too many times, you know what happens? Now all of a sudden you
You're
got the
back to
problem.
square one all
You're
over
back
again.
to square one. So you know what? I decided I was going to try something new. And in the kindest way possible, I said, "No, thank you.
Yeah,
I don't want that. Thanks so
yeah,
much for
yeah,
asking." And I
yeah.
don't think it was offensive, but
Mhm.
it was the right thing to do. So you're the captain of your environment. You're the captain of your space. And how do you want it to
Absolutely.
look? And I think that goes back to what she said. Imagine your ideal lifestyle. And did
Mhm.
you see what I said, that I was like, "Oh, I'm back in control. I'm sitting up straight.
Mhm.
I'm resuming
You're the queen of your
control.
castle.
I'm the queen of my, yes, I'm the queen of my castle." And none of that was negative. But what Polly says all the time, when I first heard her say it, I was like, okay, that seems kind of silly, basic, and but honestly, I sit in business meetings and we're like, "Well, we just hit this milestone." And then nobody does anything and they just go on to the next thing. And in these business meetings now, I'm saying, "Hold, please. Can we just acknowledge that we just hit our goal? And can we have a feel good moment about that and give everybody a round of applause and say, 'Thanks so much. You
To
did a great
you.
job.'" So Polly's really wearing off on me. So if she's wearing off on me, I know she's going to wear off on you in a positive way.
Okay, well, thanks for that recommendation. So just
Yeah.
as in closing here, number one, find a method that works for you, but start from a place of feeling good. Create even as the first step. Be proud of yourself that you made the phone call to the organizer to come and help you organize. Be proud of the fact that you asked your friend to trade places with you and you're both going to help each other clear out a closet. Be
Hmm.
proud. Be proud. Don't just do it without celebrating the fact that you did it. And the professional organizers are a tremendous resource.
Hmm.
And then just, how would I say? Know that what you're doing is a gift for yourself. It's not, how would I say, we tend to look at decluttering and downsizing as taking away, taking away something
Yes.
from something, how do I say, from our personal, from our heart.
Yeah.
And I think when instead you look at it that you are creating a space that will honor what really means something to you and also honor yourself by creating a space that brings you peace and joy.
Hmm. Yes.
That's really the overarching goal to have. Don't worry about you know, the big mountain. Instead, start out with a positive outlook, get the help you need, celebrate every little step that you take, and put as much of the positive into that whole process as you can. And you'll find that it goes a lot more easily than you think.
Yes. And feel free to reach out to Polly and I and let us know how it went. We'd love to hear your
Yeah,
success
we'd love to
stories.
hear that.
And if you have somebody that you want to share this podcast, this YouTube, sorry, not a podcast, YouTube with, please do. And we just thank you for listening to us today and allowing us to have a moment where we can
Yeah.
talk as seniors.
And our information will be down below this this video.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Bye, everybody. See you next month.
Are you interested in learning more about tiny habits? Look for Polly Lemire at thrive-after65.com. You can learn more about aging in place, strategies, and answers by looking for my podcast wherever you listen to your favorite podcast.